did he get your number? And I was like, put my backpack on. I didn't let him have it. Hey beautiful, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, my name is Alexis Jayda and welcome. Today's notification shout out goes to, oh, hi again. Thank you so much for all your love and support. To get on with y'all, I really appreciate it. If you guys want to be part of the notification squad, all you have to do is just like this video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on those notifications. Leave a comment down below and you can possibly be the next notification shout out. But if you guys can hear the fan, I'm so sorry. I'm in Vegas right now. It is hot. Not Texas hot. It's like a different kind of hot where it's like you're not even humid, you're just sweaty. Super hot. Like my pillow, I straightened it and I'm like, for what? But for you guys. But I was walking outside and I was like, wait, like it's so hot. There's no reason for it to be this hot. So I hope you guys don't mind the fan. It's hot. So today's story time is part of my nanny series. I have a nanny series on here where I read from my diary and let you guys know what happened in my really traumatic pasts. Yeah, so I do want to clarify something. FAMBAM had asked me if the peaches have passed away. No, unless there's something I don't know. But from what I know, and when I was talking to certain people that know them, they're still well and alive. So yeah, because I was like, wait, what? So thank you guys so much for all your love and support on my previous nannies video. I was just so overwhelmed with all the love and just the comments were just super nice. Me and Bubbles, we were talking and she just loved the video and she was just so freaking sweet. So I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. I pinned a comment on Instagram and she saw it. She was seeing all the comments and just thank you guys so freaking much. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Let's get into today's story time. It is going to be a good story time and it is the wedding. Remember I told you I got Dutch Bros. If you guys follow me on Instagram, make sure you guys do, please. But on Instagram, I'll be showing you guys my Dutch Bros. I've been obsessed with Dutch Bros. Every time I come out here, I always get Dutch Bros. They are barely making one where I live and I'm like, it's so fun. I've been trying your guys' recommendations and they've been oof. But so far, the golden eagle with extra drizzle, but stay light on the ice because there's no reason for it to have that much ice. So I brought all my makeup, if you guys are curious, in here. I love talking to you guys, so anytime I can like sneak off and do a video for y'all, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. A few days passed and there was some petty stuff that happened. Do y'all want to know? Okay, I'll tell you. So they were feeling some way, the Peaches and Baltimore. And I guess Bubbles pretty much called Mrs. Peach and was like, oh my gosh, she was an angel and just being so freaking nice, talking about me so nicely. And I left a good taste in her mouth. And she was saying that she wanted me there for the wedding and that she would love to take me to go get a dress since everyone already got like their dresses and stuff, to let her know pretty much the schedule of when I work for her. I don't know why she just didn't tell her like, hey, here's her number, but she wanted to be ugly. She wanted to be a what? A hater. I go to work and she's pretty much telling me like, oh, you left a good impression on Mrs. Bubbles. She was telling me that like, oh, you were so nice and you were helping her with this and you were helping her with that. Mr. Peach was in the room. It's like, yeah, like she was saying like really nice things. Like even the dad was saying that JoJo couldn't stop talking about you and that he was just so like, wow, she's like so cool, you know? Which, thank you. I left a good impression, which that makes me really happy because there's been some times like with the Peaches and other people where they get like a bad impression of like, oh, she's a bad kid or she looks like a little mocosa, you know what I mean? And they just think that like I'm up to no good, or before they could even fully meet me, people already have spoke and said like, oh, you know, she's this and she's that. So people wouldn't even give me the benefit of the doubt that they already just a hoodlum. So I was really happy that she was just speaking very nice, and she didn't even tell her like, oh yeah, give her this or give her that or anything. I don't know how it came about, but when they asked me, I was like, yeah, like I got that. Like she gave me the pants and she took me here and she gave me like a bag and she was so sweet to me. It didn't rub them right. You can tell it bothered them and they were just like, why? I don't get it, why? And pretty much like, what did you say? And I'm like, nothing. And they're like, but why? Like, I don't get it. Someone just randomly is just like, hey, let me take you to go get this. And I'm like, yeah, nothing. But it could have been like, what did you say? Why are they acting like that with me? What did you say? Because I know I didn't look all that bad. And when I was talking to Bubbles, she was like, no, mija, you didn't. it was just because of what I've heard. Now, she didn't come out straight tell me. She was just like, because of what I heard. It was just a kind of like a back and forth. They were being kind of like snobby with me and kind of just upset that I got stuff and they didn't, pretty much, because they weren't like, oh yeah, like what did you get? They were just like annoyed by it, and I had to pretty much be the one to gloat and tell them like, oh, I got this and this. And I wasn't trying to be braggish. I was just excited, super excited, you know, like this is what I got, look at this. So they kind of just gave me that feeling of just being annoyed with me. And when I was told to do certain things, it'd be like, yeah, can you, yeah, just do that. And Baltimore went back to like not really talking to me, and she was asking me like, how come I didn't go home when Peach told me? And I was like, oh, because there was still more to do. And she asked me if I could stay. She's like, yeah, but you don't work for her, you work for Mrs. Peach. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but she was just giving me the cold shoulder again, and I was just like, what the. So I was just upset. Bubbles asked Peach like, when is Alexis free, that she wanted me to be there and that she could, you know, go with me to go get a dress. And Peach brought it up in a way that is very rude. And again, when someone wants you there, they let you know, but when they don't, you know. So she was telling me like, she invited you if you want to go, if you can get a dress. But me personally, I don't think she should have to pay for your dress. Do you think you can afford the dress? I don't know. I think she's being nice because you helped. She doesn't want to be rude. But si quieres ir, you can go. And in my head, I was like, ain't nobody asking you for permission. Nadie. I'm not asking for permission. I can go if I want. I was kind of just like, okay, I don't know. One day I get off from the Peaches and I go to the library. Y'all already know library was my spot. So I go to the library and I just sit there just to you know, get away from everything and show off my pants. Like, what's up? You hear that? You hear that snap? It's my new bra. Just freaking geeked, you guys, that I got pampered. Okay, so I go on to MySpace and I'm like changing my layout, making it all cute, like, oh, this, that, little, you know, because you could do that back in the day. You could change up your background for MySpace, for those who know. If you don't know, you're a baby. Changing my background and I see that I have like a message and I'm like, this looks like a familiar face. So I go into the message and it's JoJo. And he's like, hey, I found you, what are you doing? And pretty much tells me like, hey, what are you doing on this date? And let's just say it's my birthday, okay, August 9th, what you doing? And I'm like, why? Because I was like, oh, I needed to play it cool, because I'm telling you, this boy, everyone like wanted him and he thought he was cute, he knew he was cute. So I was like, okay, I gotta play it cool. Why? And so he writes back with the quickness and tells me that it's the wedding and if I was gonna be able to go, and pretty much told me like in detail that they reached out to the Peaches. And he says, I don't know if they told you, but we reached out to the Peaches, which I thought was cool. You know, that person, like, this is what happened, this is what I said, did they let you know? That was the vibe that I got from the message. I was like, oh yeah, she had said that your mom wanted me to take me dress shopping, and that if I could go, and what days did I work. He's like, well, do you work August 9th? And I'm like, I don't actually, not that I know of, but I could get the day off. You know, try and play around. And he's like, okay, like, we want you there. Emphasize on we. He capitalized the W-E. So I was like, okay, sure. He's like, give me your number. And I'm like, boy, I told you no. Remember, because he asked. And he's like, my mom wants it. So I felt stupid. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, so here's my number. So give her my number, and then I get a message. Ding! I look at it and it said, hey, smiley face, it's me, JoJo. I'm like, I know, JoJo, I knew it was gonna be you, I knew it was from your mom's. And so he's like, I'll write you since it'll be easier anyways, my mom's a slow texter. I'm like, right. I'm like, just keep it about your mom, that's it. And he's like, okay, with the question mark. And I know that sounds kind of like rude, but y'all know the ex was crazy. So it was like, what if he grabbed my phone and JoJo's trying to be cute or reminiscent on the little, like, I got my smash socks, you got my smash socks. So I didn't want it to be a problem and it looked like I have him under Pizza Hut, you know what I mean? So I told him, just keep it about the wedding and like that. So he was like, question mark, what? Like, you know, being weird. And I'm like, I got a boyfriend, remember? He's like, oh, okay, yeah. Before the day comes around, I'm like super happy. No one can tell me anything, especially at work. Go to the Peaches, no one can tell me nothing, because I was just in such a good mood. Sam wanted to be a little rude and tell me like, oh, how come this wasn't cleaned correctly, and oh, how come, okay, and I just do it, boom, done, in and out. And I'm not gonna lie, JoJo would be messaging me here and there and telling me like, hey, we just want to make sure that, you know, my mom can take you on this date before that to make sure that you fit in this, blah 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 blah. Just small talk, but it was like unnecessary small talk. So I'll be like smiling on my phone, and Sam would be like, why are you smiling? And so I look at her and I'm like, because I am, because I'm happy, and because I don't gotta stick up my ass. And so I just continued to work, because why does she care? Why do you care, Sam? Why did you care? Everyone knew like, oh, I was in a good mood. And so Baltimore was like, yes, like she thinks she's so cool with her pants and stuff. Like, oh my gosh, have you even washed them? And I'm like, yup. Do you want to smell my crack? Yup. Like I was just in a good mood, all this, all happy. I would go home and the ex didn't flat out ask me anything else about that day, because he shouldn't have had Sam's number. So I was ready for the argument, and I kept thinking like, it's gonna happen, you know, but it didn't. It came at a later date. He would just be like, oh, you're like extra happy, like why are you in a good mood? And I'm like, oh, I'm just tired of being sad. Oh good, because you know, pretty much that he was saying that it made him be in a better mood, that I wasn't just like stink face. And so I made the comment of, I have stink face, or I'm a reflection of how you act. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. We got in a fight. It was like, why did you do that, Lex? And it made me mad, because I would always feel like I would have to watch what I say, because ooh, the fight. And then he'd be like, you see, it's your fault. Like if you wouldn't have said that, we wouldn't have been fighting. And back then I'd be like, oh my god, why did you say that? Why did you do that? You should have just kept pushing and not say anything. But that is not a way to be in a relationship. It is exhausting, where you're constantly feeling like you're on eggshells, and you have to be careful of like, don't say this, don't say that, because then this and then that. It's exhausting. You should be able to say whatever you want, even if it's like some crazy like they can match your energy, but it doesn't have to go from like, let's say you're at a 2, they're at a 2, you're at a 4, okay, you're at a 4, but it shouldn't go you're at a 4 and they're at a 10. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like that. And over something where I was just communicating my feelings, it was just unnecessary how these arguments would escalate and then get physical. But your girl was ready for that combo of, who's this? The picture, who's this? Because it was a picture. Who's this? And we'd be like, how do you get that number? Because he had said up and down, I don't have her number no more, I want to work things out, blah 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 blah. She had said, I don't even talk to him, F him, da 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 da. Right? Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. Things are going alright. I get a different message from a different number, and it says, hey Alexis, where can I pick you up? We are going to go and get the dress. And I'm like, there's no reason for JoJo to have my number. So I replied, I don't even say like, who this? Because just even in the text message, it just radiated happiness. It just radiated, this is bubbles, you know? So I write here and I'm like, hey, oh my god, I'm so excited. Yeah, this is where you can pick me up. I'm gonna be at the library. Sent her the thing, and then I go to the library that day. I look really cute. I showered, make sure I wear the good deodorant, the bra, the pants, the shirt. And she tells me that she's gonna be a minute, but that she was going to take JoJo and some of his friends, that they wanted to tag along and get out of the house. And I'm like, just shy, because I'm like, oh, I was super self-conscious about my body. I didn't feel super cute, so I was like, I can't tell her like, why? I thought it was just gonna be us, because I'd be on some creepy stuff too, like, what? I tell her like, oh yeah, like no worries, I'll be waiting. And so I just go look at my profile, check in with the librarian, like, hey, what's up? Then she tells me, here, before I could even walk outside, got my backpack, okay? I'm walking, and then comes JoJo, and I do not know why my freaking heart went to my butt. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because like, I don't know, honestly. It was just like, I don't know. And he sees me, and he's walking in, like had like a fresh new haircut, because you can see like where they like cut him. Walks in, he's like, oh hey, Why do guys do that? Why do y'all do that? Why do y'all lick your lip and laugh? Like, I feel like some can pull it out, but someone's like, give him some chapstick. So anyways, walks in, hey, and goes in for a hug. I side hug him because I'm like, what is going on? So I side hug him and he's like, are you excited? And I'm like, for what? To get your dress. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he tells me that, oh, you better pick something really cool, not something like some nerd shit. Like, pick something cool, don't even worry about the money. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like my mom's paying, my dad gave her the credit card. And I'm like, okay. So we go in the car, and what I thought was really sweet about JoJo, he opened the door for me, and I was like, and I got in the car and my face was red, and Bubbles seen how red my face was. She pats my thigh and I just like look at her, and she just smiles and she just kind of like nods, like, you know, and I'm just like, this is so weird. I'm blushing. This is so weird. That deodorant do not work right now because I was just so sweaty, and I was like, oh my god, this is, he opened up the door for me. This is crazy. We're official. Just kidding. No, but I was like, oh my god. Like, open the door. The friends are in the back and he's like introducing them, like, oh, this is my friend so and so, and they're like, oh, hey, what's up? And like, oh, it's so, hey, yeah, what's up? One of them stuck out because it was like his BF and he's part of it too, and we'll name him Mojo, because Mojo Jojo. Hey, well, what's up? And reaches over to shake my hand, and I'm like, damn, these people are like really well mannered. Like, that is like, okay. And so he was like, what were you doing here? So talking to me, right? So he's in the back and I'm in the front, and so I'm like, oh, like I was just like studying, you know, updating my MySpace. And he goes, oh yeah, like, what's your MySpace? And so as soon as he said, what's your MySpace, JoJo puts his hand on his chest and he's like, don't worry about it, dog, don't worry about it. And so I kind of was like, you know, they're putting their seatbelt on and we go to a store. Now the store was really nice. I thought we were gonna go to like a Ross, to be honest. So go to a really nice store and we walk in. It is super freaking nice. There was other girls with us. There was like 2 other girls in the back, but they were like super quiet, and I swear, where I have bitch face, they probably thought I was mean. I didn't vibe with them, and I just stuck out. Okay, me with my pants, my shirt, my backpack, my shoes, my hair black, really long, and then this face. Them like bubbly and like haha, and like really vibrant colors and like curls, and just, it's just different, you know. So I did say hi, was respectful. When I try and talk to them, it was just like an ended question, you know. It was just like they answered it and that was it. Open and ended, boom, that was it. So it was just really hard. And so I kind of vibe more with the boys. I always vibe more with the boys. I don't know why. I just always have. I can chalk it up with dudes better than I can chalk it up with females sometimes, and it takes like certain females that I can vibe with, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at all my friends, my homegirls, we have like a tomboy vibe, you know, and very few like very like non-tomboy vibe. I don't know how to explain it. So anyways, so we go to the store. It's very nice. I'm just like, oh my god. So I kind of just like start moving towards the back because I'm like, and everyone is already like, you know, like they've been there. They start sitting down. They're just like, they already know the situation. And I'm just like, and as I'm going back, JoJo puts his hands on my shoulders and kind of just like guides me forward. He's like, where are you going? And I'm like, just like kind of like where, like, I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to act like I know the place, like I don't know the place. And he just starts laughing. He's like, you trip way too much, like you worry, you stress me out, chill. And so he like sits me down, has my shoulder still, and just like sits me down, and I literally just like pop on the chair, and I'm just like, I'm so nervous that my feet don't even hit like the bar. Like, you see how, like, you know, the chairs have like that bar and people like rest their feet on there. I don't. My feet are just like upped. And he comes in front of me and pushes on my thighs and then pushes down. He's like, relax. I'm like, okay. And so I just sit down, and then as he's going to grab a chair, Mojo already has a chair and plops it right next to me. And so when JoJo comes back, he sees and he's like, and goes and sits somewhere else. And I was like, damn, because I did want him to sit next to me, you know. I wanted to be like, uncle, sit right here, please, because I don't know this Mojo guy, like what the heck. And so I go on my phone right away, and me and the ex are on good terms, so me and her are messaging, and he's just asking me like, hey, how's your day going, tell me about his day. And Mojo is trying to talk to me, but I am just like, oh yeah, yeah, that's cool, and just like messaging, not being rude, but kind of letting him know like I'm not interested. And he asks me like, who are you texting? And I'm like, oh, I'm texting my ex. And he's like, oh, what's his name? I'm like, you wouldn't know him. And he's like, bet, I know everybody. I'm like, okay. And so I tell him his name, Squidward. And he's like, y'all, I hated telling anybody who the hell I was dating because they always had a fucking story. Remind me to tell you the story when a stranger texted me, okay, about this man. Remind me, and I will do that one right after this one. Remind me. So when I tell him, so-and-so, oh stupid, your stupid ass, dumbass, and go and looks directly at JoJo. And looks at me, looks at him, and he's like, oh, gets up. Okay, like that's how I do it. Okay, because I'm like, why the fuck are you acting weird? Like, that's what females do. That's what us females do when we, oh, you're dating her, you know? So I was like, what the fuck? And so JoJo walks over, sits where Mojo was, and he's like, what happened? What's up with that? And I was like, I told him who I was dating, and he got all weird, and he's like, oh, he probably knows him. I'm like, yeah, I got that. But the thing is, like, how does he know him? And he grabs my phone, puts it in his pocket, and he's like, don't worry about it. And so his mom comes out, and she has these dresses, and she's telling me, this one or this one? JoJo want to sit here act like he's my man's, and he's like, that one. And then Bubbles goes, this one or this one? And he laughs. JoJo looks at me, and then she's like, this one or this one? And I'm like, that one. She's like, okay, come on, let's go try it. And so he gets up, and she's like, JoJo, sit down. You said you were gonna come because you want to get out of the house. Sit down. And so he laughs, and like the girls kind of laugh, you know. And then Mojo's like, damn, bro, can you be any more obvious? JoJo flashes him look, and he's all, and sits down and kind of does just like that cool like sit down, right? And so I go in the back, and she, you know, laughs with me, and she's like, I thought you said you didn't give him your number. I was like, I didn't. So this is what happened. Well, what happened was he asked me for my number for you so you can message me. And she starts laughing. She's like, and you fell for that? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. And she's like laughing at me, being so freaking sweet. I guess in a way I did know, you know, let's just be honest. You knew. We go to the back, and I'm trying on the dress. Now when I tried on this dress and I looked, that it was like pretty expensive. It was not pretty expensive, it was expensive. It was not over 500, but it's pretty expensive. Okay, I did pay her back. All right, I did pay her back, and I will tell y'all about that day because it was really cool. It just feels cool when you get to give back, and that's why I really like giving back, because it feels awesome, and it just feels like it just went like in a circle, you know what I mean? Like you throw like a boomerang and it comes right back. So it was something that was very, very precious to me. It was one of those dresses where like I would never forget. Can I fit in it? No. Maybe my thigh can fit in it, but not me. I'm mad at y'all. Y'all didn't even tell me what you guys were doing, where you guys are going, what you guys are eating. Let me know down below. When I was wearing this dress, when I put it on, before I even came out, I was talking to myself, and I was like, girl, you are going to become a girly girl because you look so good in this dress. And I even freaking telling myself like, Lex, you are going to start dressing girly. You look good. And I still have conversations with myself till this day where something looks good, I'm like, you are going to be girly. Does it happen? No. I felt so confident wearing that. Like I don't even know how to express it to you guys. I was in awe of myself, and I was like, yeah, because I'm like, this is a lot of money. It's too much money, and I do not. They just met me. Even if they have money and they're rolling in the bank, it's not right. It is not right at all. I come out and I'm like, oh, because I'm like, I don't want to act like I like it because this is a lot of money, right? So I come out and I'm like, she's like, oh my God, Alexis, why don't you wear dresses? How come you don't dress? And she stops herself and I just look at her and she's like, you look good, Mija. You look really, really good. And I'm like, thank you, you know, getting a little shy. I don't even see that JoJo snuck his ass in the back. He's like, oh, dang. And I just like cover up. I grab the tortilla. I'm just like, and she yells at him like, JoJo, go over there. And so he just walks away and the lady tells him like, you can't come back here, you know, telling him. And he's like, I know, my bad. So the other girls that were brought start trying out dresses. Those dresses were absolutely freaking beautiful. So they are like, wow, you look really nice. How come you don't dress nice? Bubbles must have flashed them a look because they quit right away. They just went up and just stopped. And I'm like, thanks guys. And I'm like, you guys look really pretty. Like, I know. And just like really confident and happy. They said it in a cute way, you know. They are asking me if that's the one I'm gonna get. And I'm like, I don't know. There's still more for her to try on. This is the only one. This is the first one she's trying on. You can never pick the first dress. And so in my head, I was like, dang it. Because I didn't want to sit here, play dress up. I was just nervous. So she went to the front and she had grabbed more dresses and they're trying them on, and none of them give me that feeling of like, wow. The prices on these dresses were crazy. Like, why are they so much? That is why. So we're trying them on and the girls are asking me like, which one did I like? And I tell them like the first one. And they look at the tag and they're like, oh no, get something else. And so I'm thinking they said, oh no, because like that was a lot of money. And I was like, oh yeah, like no, like I like it, but like no. And so the girl are trying on the dresses, twirling, and like, how about this one, you know? She's telling them like, whatever you want, whatever you guys feel more comfortable in, like whatever you want. Can we rent them? Because it's a lot. And she goes, did I ask you if it was a lot? No. So why are you saying anything about the money? Is it your money or is it my money? It's very rude to comment on about price when someone is catering to you. And that has been something that has stuck with me forever. So anytime I'm treating anybody or they want to say something and I tell them, did I ask you about the price? And so they don't even know, but in my head I say it in her voice, you know, because it was just such a sweet thing and how she said it. And it was just the tone that she used with me. I was like, oh, clutching my pearls. And I was like, no ma'am. She was really witty with it. So I was like, okay. So we're trying on more dresses, and then the girls, because they see that I don't want to put them on back, because the girl keeps coming back and taking the dresses that we don't like, and I keep holding on to that one. I'm like, no, I like that one. And one of the girls makes a comment. She's like, why do you want that cheap dress? Why do you want that cheap dress? And I'm like, it's $500. And they're loaded. Go pick an expensive dress. I was just like, wow, y'all are some little like, for real. So at first I was like, oh, they're thinking like that's a lot, but no, they were like, you're cheap, grab something else, you know. So I was like, what the fuck? I'm still holding on to dress. It feels like an all day thing, right? I get a message from Mrs. Peach and JoJo brings it and he goes, it's Peach. And I'm like, why are you looking at my phone? He's like, I'm not. It was in my pocket and it kept going off. And so I looked at it and it's Mrs. Peach. And so I'm like, so I grab my phone for him and it's Mrs. Peach, and she tells me like, what was I doing? And I tell her like, oh, I'm with Mrs. Bubbles. We were trying on dresses. And it feels like forever for her to reply. I know she was mad. I know she was mad. She finally replies and she tells me that to be wary of how much that I am what dress I'm going to pick out, because I barely knew her and I am pretty much a reflection of them, and that I could have just told her that I need a dress and she would have just gave me the dress. And I'm like, use a lie, use a lie, you are a lie. And so I just replied back, okay. And then she hits me back with a K question mark. I'm like, and so I hit her back with a question mark. and she don't say anything. So I'm like, okay. She didn't even want to know, she didn't even want me like to go in or anything. It was just because she was being chismosa, because I'm pretty sure Bubbles probably told her like, oh, we're here, or who knows, right? Who knows? We continue to try on dresses. Bubbles tells me like, which one do you like? And I'm like, she's like, don't worry about the price. We already talked about that. It's rude. Which one do you like? And so I tell her like, oh, I like that one. She's like, the first one? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, the first one, you're not supposed to go with the first one. I was like, or first one is always the best pick. And she goes, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, and she was just surprised and very like that I wanted that one, you know, that I liked that one. So she tells the lady to take it to the back and that they weren't gonna get that one. So I just stayed quiet because I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it was a weird way she did it, but I was like, I don't know. Oops, I messed up or something. So she takes it to the back and then she asks the girls like, which ones do you want? And they're like, oh, this one. She's like, okay. And so we just leave, and she tells the lady that she'll keep in touch. So we leave and the boys follow. Mojo is just avoiding me now, like doesn't even want to talk or anything. So I'm like, oh, why did you guys come? Like, you guys literally just sat in the front. And he was like, yeah. And just like very, very weird. So Bubbles asks us, where do we want to go eat? Jojo tells her like, oh, we should go eat at, and he says like this fancy ass name, and I'm like, what the fuck? And she tells him that there's a lot of us, Jojo, like something where we can eat and get like seconds. And he goes, oh, okay. So we decided to go to Sizzlers. So we go to Sizzlers and I grub. Okay, it was a lot. I know it sounds kind of weird saying like, oh, it was a lot, trying on dresses, having fun. Yeah, it was a lot because I don't know, I guess it was like a mental thing. I don't know, it sounds weird even saying that. I don't know how to say it correctly, but it was a long day. I was exhausted. So we're sitting there and I sit next to Bubbles and I sit next to the girls. And Jojo asks me like, how come you want to sit next to me? And I'm like, because I want to sit next to your moms. I like your mom. And he tries to make it funny, you know, like, I knew that's what you were going for. You just want to take her money. I'm like, yep, I'm trying to be your stepmom. And just like playing around with him. And Mojo chimes in as me and him are just, you know, playing around. And he says, so how long have you and your ex been together? And I'm like, a while. And he's like, have y'all broke up? I was like, so many times. And he's like, because of you or because of him? I'm like, because of him. And he's like, why? I'm like, and Jojo looks at him and he's all, dog, being weird right now, shut up. And kind of just trying to like tells him like, shut up, you know, like, why are we talking about my ex? I just tell him like, you know, like, what is it? And he's like, I want to say something, but it's not my place. And I'm like, well, you already said something, so can you just like finish what you were gonna say? And he tells me if I know of this girl, or name her, I'll name her Maria. If I know this girl named Maria. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, so you already know about her? And I'm like, yeah, he cheated on me with her. And it gets so awkwardly quiet, and I don't know if it's because I was so blunt with it that it kind of just made things a little bit more awkward. Jojo was like, oh, and just gets up, okay, and leaves me and Mojo to talk. And Mojo's like, so like, what date did y'all? I was like, can you just tell me, like, is it now that they're still messing around or something? And he's like, I don't want to be that guy. And I was like, well, technically you're already being that guy by saying something, which is cool, which is like, it's cool, like, I appreciate it. Can you just like tell me? Yeah, so, you know, we must run with like the same friends or something, because Maria and him are talking and like, you know, do stuff. Still? And he's like that. And I was like, still? And he's like, I'm like, can you say it like still? And he's like, I'm like, why? And he's like, you know, just being so awkward. And so I was like, okay, cool. My whole mood changed. I felt like a kick to the gut. I felt stupid. I wasn't being like loud and like ha 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 like I was felt so dumb, because I just felt like, dang, like, why? Like, what could I possibly be doing? Like, am I just that person that can just like be walked over and cheated on all the time? And like, does he do it because I just like stick around? Is he doing it? Is he talking to her again because of like the picture. I was just trying to calculate and understand why. Like, I just don't understand it at all. I do anything and anything. I just don't understand why. And so I'm just quiet and my appetite goes away completely. JoJo comes back and he has like these brownies that looked really, really good. I really wanted them, but I just couldn't. Like, my whole appetite was just gone. Completely just finito. Gone. And Mojo gets up and he's like, I'm sorry. I would want to know. And I was like, yeah. And so JoJo comes by and he's like, look, these are some big ass brownies. Want one? I was like, nah, I'm good. And I didn't mean to like give him any attitude or like be mean to him about it. I was just like, you know how embarrassing that is? Someone you don't even know to know you getting played. And like, oh, you're that girl, you're his girlfriend. Oh, that one that they speak of that is just a pendeja. It feels ugly. It feels like you're not, like, he ain't even embarrassing you in private. He's embarrassing you publicly. So I was just quiet and I go to the restroom because I cry my little heart out because I feel so stupid. Right away I text the ex and I'm like, it's over. I can't be with you no more. I don't want to talk to you no more. I'm done. I don't care what happens to us. You're embarrassing. I said, I know you're talking to so-and-so. I just found out. And just going off on him. Giving him a whole ass paragraph. Paragraph on paragraph on paragraph. Pouring my heart out. But you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. Going off on him. Calling his mama a hoe. All kinds. Like, messages. You think this dude wrote back and was like, what are you talking about? He hit me with the K. Okay. I continued to write novels after that. And he still just responded, K. Every novel I sent him, K. 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 I was just like, wow. There's no denying. There's no like, you're tripping, you're stupid, no nothing, just a K. Like, it hurt so much. It was like a punch to the gut. And so I am just bawling. I was bawling so hard that someone who was in the restroom went and told Bubbles that I was crying. Bubbles comes and sees that I'm crying in the stall and like tells me like, are you okay? Like, what happened? Was it one of the boys? Did they say something? And I'm like, no, they didn't say anything. I'm just so stupid and I'm just hurt. Like, I feel so dumb. She was just being so sweet. She's like, boys are so dumb. They don't mature until they are in their late 30s. You are so young. Do you think this is going to be someone that you're going to be with forever? And honestly, I never really saw him as my forever. But you are just like, you know that person's not your forever, but you know you have this big chunk of time that you're probably gonna be with this person, that you're like, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready to cut this cord. I'm not ready for these strings to just come attached from my heart. You're not ready. I wasn't ready. And so I open up the stall because she tells me to open it up. I open it up and I just freaking cry in her arms. And she tells me that she knows that this is not the person that I'm supposed to be with, because the person you're supposed to be with, whether you be with them since you are super young and they're your high school sweetheart, is not supposed to make you feel this way. That if any man made her cry like this, is done. And she was, you know, she was trying to make me feel better, but when you're young, you think it's the end of the world. And this wasn't our first breakup. It wasn't. But this breakup felt uglier because the way that Mojo's face looked like felt bad, and the way that I had felt guilty of like jumping on the trampoline with JoJo, everything. And it was just like, I thought we were like in a good spot. Even though it was like a messed up toxic spot, I thought we were in a good spot. I thought this person that he was talking to was going to just be gone and wasn't going to be someone that he continued to talk to. So I felt so stupid. I I felt embarrassed. So she hugs me a little bit longer, like a big hug, and I don't just like cry a little bit. I am sobbing all over her beautiful blue shirt and her jewelry and mocos y todo all over her, and she doesn't even care. Like, she doesn't even care. She just continues to hug me, and I am just weeping in her arms, crying about not just him but just everything, because I'm like, this shouldn't be her hugging me, my mom should be hugging me. So I was crying harder and harder and harder, and it was a cry that I needed for a long time. So she tells me like if I'm okay, and cleans me up, grabs a tissue, and literally like wipes my nose like a baby. Literally. Look at her, and she just wipes my nose, cleans me up, and is like, come on. We walk outside, and right away I just see Jojo. We make eye contact, and he looks at me. He just looks down right away, and I go and sit down, and he kind of makes his way kind of close to me, and he's like, kind of whispers it, and he goes, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Mojo comes over, and he's like, hey, you wanna go get some brownies? Like, his attitude kind of changed, you know. He wasn't like pity me, I guess. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I get up to go get the brownies with him, and he just apologizes like, yo, look, it wasn't my place to tell you, but I just felt bad, and you seemed pretty cool. My bad. Do you mind if you say like it wasn't for me? And I'm like, yeah, like that wasn't even a thought. And so we're getting the brownies, and he just tells me stuff like, you're too pretty for that chump anyways. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm not really like about looks or anything like that. And he's like, yeah, obviously I kind of got that. And so I just, you know, I laugh, and I kind of come out of like my bubble a little bit, and we get the brownies, and she asks us if we want to go anywhere else, if there's anything we want to do. And I think it's because she just wanted to probably like, you know, I don't know, spend time and just be nice. So they're like, yeah, like let's stop here. So we stop like at a skate park, and it's like a skate park, and then it has like a regular park where like you can swing and all that. So the boys are like over here trimming it up, and we are by the swings and grass. So at first I was talking to Mrs. Bubbles, and it was just like nice talk, like, oh, like what are your plans, when are you gonna do this, like are you for sure gonna be able to go? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you're not gonna be working for the Peaches? And I'm like, no, I don't work that day. They haven't said anything. She's like, okay, even if they say you're not working, okay? And I'm like laughing. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh yeah, and I forgot to give you payment for that one day. And as soon as she said that, I just got up and acted like I didn't hear her, and I just took off, because I'm like, I'm not going to take payment. She gave me some nice ass jeans, just took me to go get a dress that I don't know if I'm going to get. I'm not gonna get it. Like I just can't take it. Like it feels so weird if I take it. So I go on the swings, and I just start to just have fun. And then shortly after, Jojo follows, and he's on the swing with me. He's like asking me if I'm alright, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And he's like, Mojo told me what happened, like I'm so sorry, like I always tell him to mind his business, and I don't know your situation and all that, but I'm pretty sure you already know, like you don't deserve it. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And so we're just swinging, having fun. Did you pretty much like confront him? I'm like, I broke up with him, and I could hear the swings going shoo 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 shoo. As soon as I said it, everything just like quiet down, and I look over, and he just has like this biggest smile on his face ever. And I look at him, and I'm like, what? And he just smiles so big, and is like, game on. I was like, you're stupid. What do you mean game on? Because I didn't want to assume like, oh, me, you know. He's all game on, and I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, we gotta find you somebody. I was like, yeah, I'm not looking. I don't want anybody. I don't want anybody at all. And he's like, oh, you already have your eyes set on somebody? I'm like, no, I don't think it's for me. I'm like, I don't think it's for me. And there's just a lot that nobody really knows, and I don't even think I should be dating, honestly. I'm like, there's just a lot, and now I know what my mom says, to not grow up so fast, and giving him a whole little speech, and he's like, okay. I'm not trying to hear all that. And so he jumps off, and I'm just left there swinging by myself, which was fine, whatever. He asks what I'm doing later. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be hanging out with a friend or what's gonna be going on, because I have nowhere to go. I just broke up with this dude. I have nowhere to go, and I can't be like, oh, take me back. I wasn't even really thinking about everything. I was just like, I'm so tired of being disrespected. I'm so tired of being played for a dumbass. I'm so fucking tired of being a doormat. And so he's like, well, we're gonna be at the house chilling. Do you want to go? There's still some stuff my mom wants us to do when it comes to the big day. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And he's like, all right, I'll let my mom know. And I'm like, okay, cool. So she calls us and she's like, come on, you guys. So we all go to the car. Before he gets in, I see him talking to his mom, see him looking at me, and I see her smiling. And so we get in the car and we start dropping off everyone one by one until it's just me and JoJo. I didn't mean to do the whole effect. It just happened. He gets close because like I'm in the front, and then he gets like pretty close where he can like be in the middle and just like talk to both of us. And so he's like, so what are we doing? She's like, let's go to the store, let's get some snacks, and then when we get to the house, then we can get to work. We go to Walmart, and this dude is getting hella snacks. So many freaking snacks, where she asked me like, Alexis, what should you want? I'm like, JoJo already got it, like it's good. And she starts laughing. She's like, you sure you don't want anything? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. He got more than enough for like everybody. So we pay, and while they're paying, I'm like, I'm gonna look over here. I like to look in the cosmetic spot. Even though I didn't really get into makeup, I still liked looking. Like, I wish I did eyeshadow back then, because I would have had more of like an outlet and like been able to express myself, and I think it would have helped a lot with confidence. But I just go and I'm just looking at the makeup. He goes and he follows me while she's paying, and he got quite a few stuff. So it was going to be a minute. So we are in the makeup aisle just looking. I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm just looking. I'm just trying to stay busy and not text the ex like, hey, take me back, on some real I really did. I wanted to be like, hey, I overreacted. I'm so sorry, because the whole K thing didn't sit right with me. And I'm like, you probably was just tired of me accusing him. Even though every time I would accuse him, I was right. I was right. So I was just really just trying to stay busy so that I wouldn't. So JoJo and I are still looking at the makeup, and he's like telling me like, you don't need any of this stuff. I'm like, I know, JoJo, I just like to look, because I'm a little annoyed because I'm in my head. And he was just being obnoxious. So he's just laughing, and then he goes, tag you're it. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you're dumb. And he's like, tag you're it, and tags me and keeps doing it until I start to chase him. So we are freaking kids in the makeup aisle, running around, being so obnoxious, tagging each other. Literally, tag you're it, playing around, tagging each other. Like, no, tag you're it, no, tag you're it, and running around. I'm laughing. I am out of breath. I cannot freaking breathe. I am having the time of my life. And he literally got me out of my funk because I was such like in my feelings. So he's like, how you're it, and we're like running around, ha ha ha, like, oh excuse me, bumping into people, being so annoying. Where I don't know if it's because like I'm older, but I'm like, where's your parents? Who raised y'all? What are you guys doing? You know? But I was having fun, and I was trying to chase him, and we were just like laughing. Person that works at Walmart, not security, but like a worker, she yelled at us and pretty much told us to go to our mom. We're walking to his mom, and he tries to, okay, and I'm like, ah, nah, you got me fucked up. And that's what I said, and he's like, why do you talk like that? And oof, I felt so insecure when he said that. Why you talk like that? It just felt like, I don't know. I just like looked at him, and I felt so stupid. I just got quiet, and he's like, I'm just messing with you. And I'm like, nah, you're not. No, you're not. I'm like, no, you're not. Bubble sees us. She waves us over to her, and as we're walking out, remember he had a crush on a girl that I knew. She's walking in with her family. I thought this dude liked me, but when he seen her, I have never seen someone go white. Like, he was ghost, and like moves away from me like right away, and goes into the hole, hey, like that. And I just look at him, and Bubbles looks at him, and I'm like, you're ugly, like you are really ugly. And he's like laughing, he's like, hey. She's like, hey, JoJo, like that. And I was like, ew, you are now categorized as an ew, you're ugly. So we go to the car and Bubbles is like, who was that, JoJo? You know, talking to him. And he was like, remember I was talking to you about, and they start talking about it. And I'm just like so quiet because I'm like, you really thought, like you really thought, like yo pendeja, like you really thought. And so I have the visor down, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm just like looking at my face, like trying to act like I don't care, you know. And he sees me like in the mirror and he just like flashes me a look and he like continues to talk and he's just like smiling, and I'm like in my head like, why are you smiling for? You so ugly, like just. And I, you know, and so I'm like looking in the visor and I'm like, and she's like asking me and stuff like, where is she gonna drop me off later? And I'm like, oh, you know what, I don't know, because like my mom says go back to the store and I don't know what she's gonna say at my tia's, like coming up with like a bold face lie, because I'm like, I need to talk to my mom, I need to tell her what's going on. I'm texting my mom is kind of going through it. So when my mom has her episodes, I can sense it, because she becomes, you just know when someone is manic, you start to see they'll be really good, and when they're not really good, it's just like there's no medium. My mom does not have a medium whatsoever. So I was already getting scared because I'm like, I can kind of see she's like on like the fence of like being annoyed. So I'm texting my mom and I'm like, hey ma, can we go somewhere? Just me and you, I need to talk to you. Not that like I wanted to move back home with her, but I was thinking like, I want to go to the family out in Texas. I want to move to Texas. I'm thinking this is going to be so good for me if I go and move out with my family in Texas, because it will be all disconnection from the ex. And I feel like when you are around somebody in the same state, it's really easy just to like reconnect. But when you go to a whole nother place, it's a lot easier just to like cut ties, you know what I mean? Like it's a fresh start. So I wanted to have that conversation with her of like, I want to go out with the family in Texas. Like I don't want to be here no more. I hate who I am. Like I'm already like, I would have these random thoughts of like, what's the point of like living? Like I don't want to be here no more. I can't be with you. I don't want to live with the stepdad. I hate him. I just want to be with like family in Texas because I have cousins and maybe I can vibe with them and grow up with them, and maybe I can like work, or I just did not want to be here. So I was already telling her like, can we talk? And she's like, oh my god, about what? She already has like an attitude and like all frustrated. So I'm like, okay, I'm not talking to her. Today's not the day. Today's like not a good day, and I'm already pissed off and emotional. So I'm like, oh, I don't know yet. And so we go back to the house and we are just getting things ready, having such a fun time. We're watching a funny movie and we are just laughing, and I'm making fun of JoJo because he was like saying pretty much that like he knows that he's cool and he can have anybody, and I'm like, okay, but you can't have so-and-so, because if you could have so-and-so, that she wouldn't have been dating you already. You got so pale and like just making fun of him, and Mrs. Bubbles like, you did. And the dad, he gets home and he's like, what's going on, you guys? And like, cause he sees that we're having a good time, you know, like laughing, and we're like making fun of JoJo, like, oh yeah, JoJo saw his, you know, his pretend girlfriend and he got like this, and we're like all laughing. And I noticed that Bubbles is kind of sitting behind me and she's kind of like touching my hair. I'm not gonna cry. She's kind of like touching my hair and she's like, oh, your hair is so pretty. And I'm like, thank you. And she's like, do you ever braid it? I'm like, yeah, I do actually. And she's like, oh my god, I love long hair. I always wanted to have long hair like that. And I'm like, you do have pretty hair. And so we're just like talking, and I could not help but feel like this is how family's supposed to be. So she asked if she could braid my hair, and I'm like, yeah, sure. So she's like braiding my hair. We're like all laughing, and we are putting pretty much paper on paper and then printing out like a cute like little thank you for attending pretty much like thingy, and like doing like little name thingies. And we are just like doing extra little thingies where I'm like, these are ugly. Like these are not, we're not gonna use these for the wedding probably. I have a feeling JoJo told her like, let's just do something. It felt like that, because I'm like, we cannot use these, like we are not doing a good job, or we're gonna have to probably do these, you know. So we're just doing those. She's like braiding my hair like this, and I am just talking. We're like all just laughing, and the dad has like pizza, and we're like eating pizza, and like we're getting like stains on the paper. And I'm telling you, it was a mess, you guys. It was a mess. Well, I don't know how time got away from us. Like time got away from us. It hits 11 o'clock, super late, and I'm like, fuck, I have nowhere to go. Nowhere. He hasn't hit me up like, don't be mad at me, baby. Nothing. I don't know where I'm going. Jojo brings it up and he's like, oh shit, it's 11 o'clock. Damn, it's late. And I'm like, yeah, I just noticed the time right now. No, I didn't. I already had seen it. So I was like, yeah, I just seen the time. Dang, it's late. Bubba's like, oh my god, Alexis, so where am I dropping you? And I'm like, I'll put a text my mom right now. She hasn't been checking in with you, baby? And I'm like, yeah, she has, but like she was just like, whenever you're done, like, you know, it's fine, like whenever I finish you can drop me off. She's like, oh, okay. So I'm talking to my mom and I'm like, hey, can you call me? And so my mom calls right away. And so I'm like, oh, it's my mom. So I get up, she lets go of my hair because she's still like braiding it but like touching it still, you know. I get up and I go to the other room and I go to the restroom and I turn on the fan so that there can be noise. And I'm like, hey mom, like where are you at? And she's like, oh, I'm with my friend so and so. And I'm like, where's the boys? She's like, they're with their dad. And I'm like, why? She's like, why are you asking, Jade? Like, why are you asking? So I'm like, yeah, she's already at 10. She's already at 10. She's gonna start shit up. She's going to already be there. And she's like, why are you calling me to say what's going on? And so I'm telling her like, oh, we got into an argument and I just want to spend time with you. So she tells me that she's going to be at this address and that she's with her friend. That's a really good friend that we have had in the family for years. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I know where it's at. I tell Bubbles to come out and I'm like, oh, like my mom's with my tia, because that's what I pretty much refer her to. I'm like, she's with my tia, if you can drop me off there. She was like, yeah, does she need you home right now? I was like, no, we could take our time. I didn't want to go. I don't want to go. I was like, we take all the time we need. So her and her spouse go upstairs because they're gonna do something. I don't know. They took forever. They're probably like, just me and Jojo, and we're sitting on the couch and there was kind of like a blanket, so I put it on top of me and he's trying to talk to me and he's like, oh yeah, like thanks for coming, like dang, time hell flew on. I'm like, yep, he sure did. It crazy, so crazy. So he sits right next to me and he's like, share. And I'm like, no, but low-key I'm like, grab it. Grabs the blanket and we're both like cuddled up and he's just talking to me and he's pretty much just telling me like, dang, did I look stupid with that girl? She saw me. And I'm like, you did. And he's like, really? Dang, that's crazy, man. I thought I was playing it off. I'm like, no, you weren't. I was being a low-key hater. I wanted to rebound, not sexually but like emotionally. And so we just continue to talk and he's like laughing. He goes for my thigh to like pinch me and I kind of just like freak the fuck out. I'm like, whoa, because I don't know what I thought it was gonna go. I thought it was gonna go from like 0 to like naked hugging. I don't know why. I was just like, whoa. He's like, whoa, chill, like my bad, bro, chill. And he kind of like just scoots a little bit further away and I'm in the couch by myself with a blanket and I was like, dang, my bad, I don't know what you were doing. He's like, nah, my bad, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay, it's okay. Like, it was so freaking weird. And so he's like, whenever you drop me off? I was like, I don't know, when your mom's ready. He's like, your mom don't care? I was like, my mom's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. And he's like, well, I got time. And you obviously do too. And I'm like, okay. So I start to tell him how my mom is. And we are just talking. It gets to the point where like, we're talking so much that he grabs up, he's like, I'm gonna go get a drink. Yeah, and like, pretty much like, follow me so we can continue this conversation. So I go with him to the kitchen and we're sitting on this big ass table and he's like getting a drink, we're getting some chips, putting some freaking Valentina, some lemon, and we're just eating. He's like, dang, that's crazy, so you don't got a dad? I'm like, no, I don't got no dad. We were just talking about everything. So I guess he has a tia that's kind of like same as my mom. I'm not gonna go too much into it. He can kind of relate because he's really close with that tia, and he was just like, it's crazy because when they're good, they're good, and when they're bad, they're bad. And I'm like, exactly. And I'm like, and that's exactly what she's doing right now. She's being bad. And he's like, dang, I'm sorry. He's like, you would have never known. I was like, he's like, no, for real, like you would have never known. He was like, you know, you're just very nice. Like, you know, people who usually go through that thing, they like they make their heart cold. And I'm like, well, I'm getting to that point. And I was like, because of my mom. I was like, and then the stupid ex. And he's like, yeah, man, that's crazy, you deserve better. And I'm like, thanks. And so we're just like talking, and then it's night out, right? It's like 11:30 now. It's like maybe midnight. And so he's like, wanna go in the backyard? Sure. So we're going in the backyard and the lights turn on and he has a ball and he like throws it to me. He's all, shoot. And so we start playing. I put my hair up and I am sweating. Okay, I'm sweating. I forgot, I got too comfortable. And so he's all, damn. And I'm like, sorry guys, I cannot be as loud as I usually am because we're in my niece's house and there's adults and there's kids and it's kind of weird because I'm doing story time and like we're here. But love you guys and I want to do a story time, so we're gonna do a story time. Okay. So throws the ball and he's all dumb, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I just got nervous. He's like, I'll make you nervous. I'm like, ew, no. I get nervous with anybody. I get nervous with a little hello. And so he starts laughing. He's like, I'll make you nervous. I'm like, no, you don't make me nervous. He's all, I'll make you nervous. I'm like, oh, okay, are we gonna play or not? Because like at this point I'm like, nah. So we start playing. If y'all know, I did a little basketball back in the day, so like I know how to okay. We're playing basketball, we get into it, and with basketball, when you're blocking, there's a lot of touching, there's a lot of like pushing, all that. When I'm bouncing the ball, my freaking booty's like backing it up, and he's like right there, okay? And I'm like, so I try to move because I'm like, nah, like, you're stupid. He like, silly girl, what you doing? Like, we continue to play, and it's like, I touch him. We are sweating. When I'm telling you, like, beads of sweat are running down my face. I am in game mode, okay? And I'm like, we weren't betting or nothing, but it was just competitive, okay? Competitive. So we're like playing and like having fun, and then there's like touching, and I fall. I scrape my knee, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm like holding my knee, and I'm like, oh my god, I bruised so ugly, I scar. I'm like, I hate my knees. He's like, why do you hate your knees? Like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I'm gonna go get a band-aid real quick. Gets a band-aid, takes out the band-aid, puts it on me. There you go. Ha. Picks me up, let's go. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like limping, and I'm like, okay, let's play. I don't know how he falls, but he's like, oh, in the air, freaking good one. He's all, damn girl, you play fucking rough. And I'm like, I don't, okay? You're probably used to like these prissy bitches, but not me. And so I could put his hands up, I'm all, get up. So we continue to play, we're having so much fun, okay? So much fun. I have the ball and I'm about to shoot, okay? I'm like, boom, he's in my face, okay? Like this, in my face. I got the ball, I'm about to shoot, and I'm like, I'll make it. I go like this boy tried to kiss me. And I don't know why, like if I didn't want it, huh? This boy tried to kiss me, okay? I was like, and he goes, I go like this, and as I'm going like this, and he goes to kiss, and I'm like, whoop. I go like that, and I kind of like just stumble back, I'm like, whoop. And then he laughs, he's like, I wasn't really gonna do it. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And as I'm looking back, Mrs. Bubbles and her husband are watching with the biggest smiles ever, like this, okay? They got their drink, they're like, biggest smiles ever. And I just feel like a pool of water just went, because I'm just sweating. And I'm like, you ready? Because I feel so embarrassed. And then he's like, really? We're having fun. And I'm like, yeah, but it's time to go. Too much fun. We go inside, and she's like, I'm ready whenever you are. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready. So me and her get in the car. Jojo has to go, and she tells Jojo that she wants to talk to me. She's like, privately. And he's like, all right, next game, it's on. I'm not gonna go easy on you. I was like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, all right, text me when you're home. No. Okay, I blocked and deleted you already. And I closed the door, and he's like laughing, throws me a grin, and thinks he's like so cute. He's not. So me and her get in the car, and she starts laughing, and she's like, wow, I haven't seen Jojo, you know, smile that hard in a minute. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, yeah, this is embarrassing. So she's driving me, and I'm like telling her like, oh, it's by this Miss, and it's by this Blockbuster. It's so crazy when I say it, because it's like, Blockbuster, that thing was shit. Alright, were you Blockbuster or were you Hollywood? Let me know. So anyways, so I'm like, it's by this Blockbuster, and she's like, okay, yeah, I know that area. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it was right there. Me and her talking, and she's like telling me that if I wanted to go with her tomorrow to go and do some last minute things and, you know, make some cute little things. And she's like, I already have a lot, but you know, you can never have too many. And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh no, I can't. I'm gonna be with the Peaches. And she's like, what time are you gonna be with the Peaches? And I tell her, she's like, okay, I'll pick you up after. And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, what do you mean you don't know? You just said you were going to. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I just don't want them thinking that like I'm using you or anything. She stopped that car so quick. Using me? I was like, yeah, like they introduced me, and you've just been really nice and just doing all these nice things. And she hits me again. You didn't tell me anything. You didn't ask me for anything. Now, what did I say at the dress store? I was like, that is rude. And she's like, yeah, it's very rude when someone's doing something nice and for you to assume that I'm doing it for this reason or that reason. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Well, that's how I'm taking it, Alexis. It is very offensive for you to say that. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, that wasn't my intention at all. I just don't want you to get that impression, because Baltimore and Mrs. Peach are kind of giving me that feeling when I was telling them about this. And she's like, well, that's them. And if they want to be like that, and if they want to interpret it that way, then let them. But don't. That's not why I'm doing it. And I'm like, okay. She's like, do you understand? And I'm like, I understand. And so we started driving, and it was so weird because I'm like, I haven't been scolded by a parent in a long time. Like a parent, not like a parent, like a parent. She tells me that she's going to pick me up at that time, and that she is going to let Mrs. Peach know, because I could probably get the day off. And I'm like, no, please don't. I do want to finish, you know, what I have to do. I'd love it if you pick me up. That's what I like to hear. We pull up to my tia's / friends, my mom's friend's house. And I text my mom, like, I'm here. And so I tell Bubbles bye, I have a backpack. I go around and I give her like a big hug. I'm like, thank you for today, and can you not let anyone know about, you know, me crying, you know? And she's like, I'm like, I know, I'm so sorry. And so I hug her, and then I go inside and I stay with my mom and her friend. They turn up, have fun, they drink, and it was just cool vibes, whatever. My mom is already going through her thing. They continue to have fun. I log out, and as I'm getting comfy and ready in my tia's bed, getting comfy, laying down, my phone goes off. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. I look at it. Good night, kissy face. And so I reply, good night, no kissy face ever. And I just send a little basketball. That's where I'm gonna end it right here. I will update you guys on, so I have to give you guys the one about the stranger telling me, and I have to give you guys the finished update with the wedding. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are liking my story times, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and hit the notification bell down below so you guys are notified every time I go live. Make sure to check out my other social medias if you guys want to keep up to date, what I'm doing, what's going on, all that good stuff. And I love you guys so much. Besos a todos, and I'll see you guys in my next video.